Good evening. Oh, that sounds better. It's a pleasure to host you all here tonight. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you to our esteemed panel members. We're looking forward to the wisdom you will share with us this evening. We all sit here tonight as students. It is a commonplace feeling. We are anxious to get to the finish line. Ironically, the possibilities of education are limitless, and when combined with athletic ability, opportunities are immeasurable. As educators, students, and parents, we are excited to be here and look forward to sharing of academic and athletic resources that can expand educational attainment in our community. My fellow classmates, I was charged with a task this evening. That is to welcome you. So, without further ado, welcome to Parent University.
Thank you again for entrusting your children to our care each school year. We hope that you are able to see the growth that they've made by the end of the year. Some will be a few pounds heavier, a few inches taller, and some more responsible, and others more mature. Hopefully, growth occurs. Although we strive diligently to meet your goal of preparing your child for the future, we want to do more by helping you with making a plan for pertinent information for their continuous growth and their future beyond high school. Our role in providing a good education includes equipping you as parents with the tools and information that you would need to make informed decisions for your children's success as they progress and prepare to leave our school system. The purpose of this parent university is to allow us to share helpful information with you and to hear from you. We desire to work together more as a team committed to providing helpful information that you may need to make informed decisions about your children's future. It is all starts with the parent university and our hope for future opportunities to work together. Ladies and gentlemen, this serves as your occasion. Thank you. At this time, I ask Dr. Brown to come forward as we begin our panel discussion. Dr. Brown.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm Dr. Manitha Brown, Assistant Principal over at Nolan Middle School. I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight to share some information as well as get information and knowledge from our expert panelists. We will have an opportunity at the end of our question session for you to ask any questions that you would like. So feel free to take notes as information is shared with you and jot down any questions that you may have. At this time, I'd like to introduce our panel. Ms. Lourdes Gonzalez, Principal of Manatee Elementary. Mr. Michael Escortia, Rogers Garden Bullock Elementary School. Mr. Ronnie King, Principal, Lincoln Middle. Ms. Kimberly Zanon Richardson, Principal, Braden River Middle School. Ms. Ginger Collins, Principal, Southeast High School. Mr. John Morrell Sr., Manatee County Sheriff's Office. Dr. William Colgate, Senior Director, COO of All Care. Mr. Travis Persinger, Account Manager, Pittsburgh Pirates and Marauders. And Bishop Dexter McDonald, Community Outreach Rural Deliverance Center. Let's give them a hand for joining us. I will present a question to the panel, and they will feel free to answer at will. If you feel to back up any responses with any comments or anything in addition, as a panelist, please feel free to step in and do so. What is the biggest factor that has helped you achieve success in life?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kim Zenon Richardson, as she said, principal of Braden River Middle School, and I'm excited to be here. I would like to say the most significant factor is resilience. I feel that everything that has happened in my life, I've been able to overcome it, push through it, and so forth and so on. So I would encourage you as students to do the same. Don't let anything stop you from achieving your goals. Always be resilient. Always remember that no matter what happens, you can get through it and you can get over it and you can keep going. So that's kind of the thing that I feel that helped me get to the place where I am right now, resilience.
And actually, I'm going to echo different word, exact same message. Perseverance. Just stay the course. You know, hard work and caring, take care of it. Just steady persistence. Don't give up, because we're all, and I have run into rocky roads and tough times. Keep your head down, keep doing the right thing. Consistency of effort. So same message.
If I can add to that, and good evening, it's so good to see so many young men here tonight. We appreciate you coming. Give our young men a big round of applause. It's a blessing to see you sitting on the front row. If I had to say the things that impacted me, the first thing I would say was my parent. My parent taught us principles. And they taught us principles, and I'll share those briefly because I know we have to move. The first principle they taught us was to love God. Secondly, they taught us to love our family. And thirdly, they taught us to work hard. Whatever you do it to the best of your ability, because you are greater than what you are now. And as long as you can believe it, then you can achieve it if you work at it. Thank you.
Any other comments on that question?
One thing
Hi,
I
this is
would,
Mr. Escorcia.
And then we'll
Oh,
go
sorry.
back
Oh, sorry.
here.
You wanna go?
We got two more.
thank you for inviting us tonight. It's an honor to be here. One of the things I would suggest concerning success is, and you're absolutely right, with regard to obstacles that you overcome. Success is not necessarily determined by where you start nor where you end in life, but the obstacles you overcome. The thing that helped me get success was failure. Once you begin to have some failures, you learn what not to do. I learned early on when I was in college that I could spread myself too thin. Once I narrowed my focus, I found out that I can do 7 things and all I'm doing is making a mess out of all of them. 6 things, I'm doing them and they're getting done, but mediocrity is all you get. 5 things I can do pretty good, but we're not excelling at any of them, we're just decent. 4 things, you're doing a little bit better, but when I've narrowed it to 3 things, then I could have success in all of those areas. And ever since that time, ever since I figured that out, I've narrowed everything I do down to 3 things. If it don't fall into one of those 3 categories, I don't do it. So you have to be all right with not having some experiences because it's not aligned with your focus. I only do 3 things. That's family, education, and ministry. Everything I do falls into one of those 3 categories. I know I can be successful at those three. If I start adding other things to the pot, I start making a mess out of it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael Scorsia, the principal at Rogers. I just want to say that you have to believe in yourself and invest in yourself, because when you invest in yourself and your future, that's when you're going to find success. And never give up on your dreams and like you said, perseverance. But if you have goals, set them and invest in yourself, because you're the one that's going to be the one that's going to be presenting yourself, and that's important. And never give up on yourself.
Thank you. Excellent information. We are off to a great start. I am going to move on. What are some daily habits or routines that you have used that have helped you achieve this success in life? Some daily habits and routines. Get ready to take notes.
I'm Ginger Collins, principal at Southeast High School. I recognize some faces in the room, and I'm proud to be with you this evening. One daily habit that I might advise you to take is to ask yourself, how did I make a difference today? How did I make a difference for my parents, for my family, for myself, for my school? That's something I ask myself daily, and I think it's good advice to pass on.
Thank you.
I'm a retired Lieutenant Morrell from the Manatee County Sheriff Department, and just to share some of my daily routines that has helped me be successful and continue my career even after retirement. One of the first things I do is, because of my faith, is the prayer and meditation every day, asking God for guidance and protection. And number two is always looking to serve, finding something that your purpose is to serve in that capacity. And my last one is keeping a positive attitude, regardless of what comes or what goes. Keep a positive attitude.
So
What
before,
they said.
oh, go ahead.
He just said what they said.
Oh, okay. So before I started my career with the Pittsburgh Pirates, I worked for Major League Baseball, and before that, I coached basketball for 14 years. Coached a lot of guys. Dennis Smith Jr. playing in the NBA right now. Coached a lot of those cats. Won a state championship in North Carolina with a whole bunch of really great people. And one thing that the daily habit was that I got from a 16-year-old kid is you got to play for a cause greater than yourself. And I took that with me as I've continued to get older. And so for me, there are not a lot of people with the last name Persinger in the world. And one thing I've always told my father is I want to have that. I want him to be proud of that last name. I want to have that last name be something that when I pass on one day, my kids, my stepdaughter who looks at me like a father and calls me her stepdaddy, those are things that I work for her every day. So just like I used to tell my athletes, play for a cause greater than yourself, every single day, you're always going to hear it from adults, and most of you guys going to roll your eyes about, oh, they telling us something stupid again. We're never going to do it. I'm telling you, though, if you put that onus on yourself and you live your day and you say, what are the decisions I made today? Are they going to make my last name proud? Are they going to make my family proud? You will start to change how you interact and how you go about your day and how you sit in the classroom and how you come to these type of events and you slouch over and you lean back. And then all of a sudden, everything about your demeanor and who you are starts to change. So one thing about my daily habits is just trying to make sure that every single day I'm playing for a cause greater than myself.
As you guys get into those daily routines of your own, the overall goal is that you want to say you're successful one day, right? Who was that? Drake, who said, I just want to be successful? So let's ask some experts. What is your definition of a successful person? Because we all have different definitions. What is your definition of a successful person?
When I consider success, to me, the recipe for success is what should you have done with what you had versus what you actually do. So if you had the capacity to become the, say, a Supreme Court justice, but you didn't become a Supreme Court justice, but you did become something maybe that most people would look at as successful, but it was nowhere near what you should have done, then you were really not successful. If you had the capacity to become, and I know this is cliche, greatest player of all time, and you made it to the league, but when you got to the league, you didn't have the work ethic to reach that pinnacle, then you really, yes, you were in the league, but you really were not successful. If all the odds were stacked against you, and based on the statistics, you were supposed to drop out of school in the 9th grade. But instead of dropping out of school, you went ahead, you matriculated through high school, overcame some obstacles, went to MTC, got your certification, and now you're doing a great job as an electrician, as a plumber. That person is successful considering what they started with. So some of you really have capacity to do some great things. If you come anything short of that, then it's not success. Some of you people have looked at you and say, well, I don't know. When you overcome those obstacles, let that become your motivation and exceed their furthest expectations of what they had for you. That's how you have success.
Thank you.
When I think of success, I think of individuals that establish goals. And not only establish goals, but they reach their goals. When I think of a successful person, I think of a person that does not settle for mediocrity. And success is not reaching one goal, but after you have achieved one goal, you move from that goal to the next goal. And so as you look at your life right now, you should have short-term goals and you should have long-term goals. Even if you're in middle school, you should be looking ahead and planning ahead for your future. So when I look at success, I look at a person that does not settle for mediocrity and a person that establishes goals and reach goals. And I always teach my children that anyone can start, but be a finisher.
Thank you.
Success to me is when you discover your purpose. I look at that because I have 3 kids, and I was the one that always to take them to the doctor's office when they had to take a shot. My wife didn't like taking them to get the shot, so I always had to take them to get a shot. But I always wish that I was always get in that room. I think it was like Bluetooth or something at the doctor's office because they had a saying on the wall. And I used to love to read that saying, and it was called What Matters. Does it really matter what kind of car you drive, the size of your house, how much money you have in your bank account? What really matters is the influence that you leave in the life of a child. And I live that out daily. That is my passion. That is my goal. That's what I do.
If you can go to bed every night, look in the mirror, and know you reached your potential that day, then everything else will take care of itself.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. We all know that we cannot do this alone. We can't reach that success alone. We can't set those goals alone. Who has been a mentor or a role model for you and why?
Oh, I'll go first. So for me, it is my father. My father, in the 80s, before it was a thing, he raised a child on his own, did that on his own. That's something that wasn't common. That's still, even today, it's not common for a man to raise a child on their own. And then not only that, he decided that once he did get married to my mother, that he was going to start a business from scratch. And he started a business from scratch. And I remember one night where we had one can of food left. That was it. And I watched that man grind it out like none other. And I'll never forget that night. And now to see the successes and to see him be able to reap the benefits of all the hard work and the years of determination, and to see that in plain sight, and it not be a story, and it not be something you read in history books, but to witness that and to see him at the bottom, and now to see him in his 70s still grinding it out because he still wants to leave a legacy. By far, my father is my greatest role model.
Thank you.
My mother was my role model. My mother came from a small town that only had one caution light. My mother only received a 10th grade education. But my mother, she owned and ran the farm. She purchased land throughout Manatee County. She bought homes and sold homes. She taught us how to operate and run and own our own business. She had 9 children. And out of the 9 children, 6 of us owned and operated our own business. And the other person I think about that was a role model to me, her name was Dr. Beck. She was the dean of the School of Allied Health at Florida A&M University. And you know, sometime in school we get lazy. And I had a term paper I had to turn in, and I ran out of time. You know how we kind of forget to do what we should do. And so I turned the paper in, but it wasn't turned in properly. So she called me in her office, and she said, "Have a seat." And she began to talk to me. And the more she talked, the more upset I became. Because she was talking to me, but she was letting me know I could do better. And she said to me, "This is the difference between an A student and a C student." From that meeting I had with her, I excelled in the program, graduated, and have been working and owning my own business since I graduated from physical therapy school. She became my godmother, and I appreciate what she said to me. And sometimes those people that mentor us say things to us that hurt us, but they also help us. And I certainly appreciate her. She's passed, but certainly I appreciate Dean Beck. She was the dean of the School of Allied Health at Florida A&M University.
There were many people.
My father, who similarly, in 1973, started raising 4 boys by himself. And he mentored us just plain by leading by example. He led by example. If you paid attention, that's how you learned. The other was my college wrestling coach. I wrestled 5 years at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. 4-year letterman. We finished second in the NCAA Division II's my senior year. And to this day, 75, still coaches. He sends 40 of his ex-wrestlers an inspirational message. I get it every solitary morning at 6:45, which is 5:45 a.m. his time. That's mentoring, and it gets my day off to a good start every single time. You can make a difference, each and every one of you, every day. Be happy, be kind, work hard. treat your classmates, teammates with respect, you can make a difference.
Ms. Inman?
Yes, there were many people who poured into my life, but I have to say, just like everybody else on this panel, it sounds like my parents were the most impactful mentors in my life, and it was because they lived by their example. They had high expectations for me. They were not college graduates, but they allowed me to have opportunities where I was around people, and I learned that that was the direction that I wanted to go in. They didn't put any pressure on me. It was my choice. But they set it up so that I could have a successful life, and I appreciate that so much. So yes, they live by example. They just had those high expectations, and they weren't expecting it of me and not doing it themselves. So that's that stood out to me as far as my parents and how they raised me and my siblings. So really and truly, I owe it all to them. So I'm grateful to my parents.
I will say, for me, the same, my parents, but also I will have to bring my grandmother. She left our country in Cuba when she was young, after having her children, my father, and she came here alone just for the American dream. And she worked really hard to get her family here in this country. When we came in 1980, we struggled. Many days we did not know what we were going to eat and how I was going to get to school, because we did not have all the benefits that other children had. But they reminded me, my grandmother reminded me every day, her struggles to get to this country, the struggles of my parents to raise me and leave the remainder of our family back in Cuba so that we could have a better life, so that I could have a better life. And then I had a great teacher when I thought I was going to give up because I did not know the language, because I was in a totally different country, because kids would make fun of me because I looked different and I was not like the rest of the kids in high school. I had one teacher that kept telling me every day not to give up, that I could accomplish anything I wanted. And to this day, I thank that teacher. It's why I became an educator, why I became a teacher, why I am now a principal, so that I can help other children and pay it back and pay it forward. Please look at those teachers around you, your parents, your grandparents. They're the ones that will inspire you and will motivate you to do what you don't even know you can do if you really listen to them and believe in the message that they're giving to you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll move on. What do you consider your most outstanding leadership quality? And I almost want to just round robin pass the mic and everybody answer this.
Well, I'll start. I think my kindness, the way I treat people, and the way I respect everybody, especially in the school community. People be like, "How come they give you food?" I'm like, "I'm nice to everybody. I talk to everybody. Everybody that is in my school has a purpose. From the bus driver to the cafeterias people to the custodians. I say hello to everybody every morning. I treat them with kindness, and I think that I get it back in return."
Thank you.
I lead by example. I like to be everywhere similar to that. I think is being a servant leader, making sure that I can help others. That is what drives me. That's my greatest leadership skill that I have learned throughout the years, to be able to be there when it's needed and just lead by example. I will never ask anyone to do anything that I am not ready to do myself, and leave and walk the walk alongside, regardless of what that walk may be.
Yep.
One of my quality is I look at myself as a motivator. I'm a hyper, jacked up individual. You hang around me long enough, you're gonna know that you can't quit. I always live by this saying, a winner never quits, a quitter never wins. And every Thursday at the Sheriff's Department, we have new applicants come in and they do the physical fitness. And they have to carry this dummy that weighs 150 pounds, 100 feet. And I make sure that I motivate them. Because in their head, they think that they can't do it, especially the females. But when I tell them, you get it up, you're going to go to walking. And you're not going to drop it until I tell you to drop it. Pick it up, let's go. And that's the same thing we're here tonight. You got something that you're struggling with, you just need a motivator. Come along and tell you that you can do it. Don't quit halfway. I was a resource officer at Southeast. I used to tell the kids, I said, you're going to quit school. You better do it before you get to the 6th grade. They look at me like I'm crazy. They say, why 6th grade? Because you go halfway, you can go the other half. You can go all the way. You don't came this far, and you tell me you're going to drop it? Come on, pick it up, let's go. And you don't have to be the smartest one. Just use what you got. Sometimes the light does come on. Just hang in there. Just hang in there, and it'll work out. And that's one of my things as a motivator.
Anyone
I
else?
think that one of my strengths or leadership qualities would be transparency. I'll tell you the truth. You may agree or disagree. I can justify the truth. I can stand behind it. And then you'll understand it. You might not like it, but you'll understand it. And that's something with students, you need clarity. If I'm clear, we can work on it together. And I think that's something that's very important. Let's know what the standard is. Let's meet that standard or exceed it.
For me, in addition to being a servant leader, it's my passion. It's from being a teacher to being an assistant principal to being a principal. It's the passion that I have for the people that I serve. And so that's the students, that's the teachers, parents, and so forth and so on. So that drives me to be the absolute best that I can be every single day for every single person that I encounter. So I really have a passion for education. I have a passion for making sure students are successful. I have a passion for just creating a bright future for everyone that I encounter. So that's, I think, is my biggest strength, and that's what drives me.
Thank you.
I would say communication of high expectations and having confidence in others. The confidence is very important, confidence, faith, and being able to communicate openly. As she said, being transparent, that's very important.
Yeah, so for me, growing up in school, I was that guy that I would talk to every single clique. I was never just stuck in one clique. And as I got older, my father continued to preach to me, keep that mentality, keep that mentality. So as I've gotten older and I've gotten leadership roles and I've had jobs coaching in college and I've had jobs working for Major League Baseball and working for the Pittsburgh Pirates, every single person, whether you guys want to do it or not, every single person needs the same amount of respect. So anytime I walk into a room, I know who that janitor is by the end of my first week on the job. I know who the cafeteria worker is by the first week of that job. I know who my bosses are by the first week of that job. Because let me tell you something, everybody has an important part in their life. And we talked earlier about what is success. That person who is that janitor or who is that cafeteria worker, they may be at the peak of their success because they're living their life to the fullest each and every day. And it is surely not my job to say my job is more important than yours or another person's job is more important than yours. So every single person, every building I'm in, every job I've ever had, they can look at me as a leader because I'm giving them all the same amount of respect, all the same amount of compassion, know when their birthdays are, know who their kids are, know all those things, because at some point, you don't need to just be nice to the people you think can give you something. You got to be able to give it back.
And that's the perfect segue to my comments. For me, it's relationship building. You know, the person sitting next to you right now, you treat them with respect and kindness. You support them. You can't become a leader in society or your athletic team or in the classroom if you don't build relationships, which is developed with trust, being supportive, and being consistent with behaving in that manner.
Anyone else? Thank you, panel. What type of service and community involvement do you participate in that relates to your profession? We heard a lot of the panelists talk about being a servant leader and talk about giving back. Can you guys share some specific examples with us that our students can reach out to look into as resources for them to be able to give back?
The community service teaches me about other people's struggles because we're not all the same. So I learn their strengths and their struggles, and it makes me more aware and makes me better. Plus, you're giving back.
I do a lot of work with the church when outside of what I do within the school. I'm also a pastor, as well as also have a Bible Institute as well. But as far as, and I give in both of those capacities. But what we do when you talk about being a pastor, what you're talking about is you're looking out for other people, other people's needs, other people's, their families. We're strengthening marriages, strengthening families. We're mentoring students. There are hungry people that were out there trying to make sure they have food to eat. We deal with people from the birth all the way to the grave. We deal with people when they're in their most emotional states, when you are at their lowest, to be able to pick somebody up. We don't just need friends when everything is going well. We're the friend when things are going horribly wrong. So to be able to serve in that capacity, and I can't go through all of what I do in that capacity and in those various capacities, but the thing that drives me in that is my life mission. I have a mission that I wrote several years ago for my life, and I stick to that today. And that life mission is to make a difference in the lives of others. That's both spiritually as well as naturally. That is why I'm in the role of pastor dealing with salvation and the role of educator dealing with education, because these are the two areas I believe will make the biggest difference in the lives of others. And I'm a firm believer, I'm driven by principle, by belief systems. I'm a firm believer that if you don't make a difference in anybody else's life, that your life really didn't matter. Or I have that feeling for my life, rather. If I don't make a difference in somebody else's life, then my life didn't really matter. So I have to make other people's lives better.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I guess when I look at myself, it's like my job as a law enforcement deputy, serving the community and being in the community. I was born and raised here in a little town called Robonia, and I really, I love the county that I'm in. When I retired from the sheriff department in 2016, kind of hit me like it's unfinished business. I just want to do more. And I got hired back on. It seemed like today I worked harder than I did before. I'm not even going to try to go through the whole list of things I'm involved in. It's like I am involved in so many community attachments, and but one thing I keep looking at, they all related to youth. They all related to youth. Any and everything I kind of get my hands attached to is related to youth. And when I mentioned it one time about purpose, I knew then that's my purpose. So when I looked at, I like what Bishop say, and these young men's on this front row, man, this is excellent. This is great. This is really great.
He comes to mentor my students.
Yes, I do. I won't talk about that.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Some service community clubs that I want you to be interested in or get some information on your campuses. Last night at this time, I was at a Rotary Club meeting where they gave over $10,000 of scholarships to my Southeast kids. Right, so something that's available to you. We're going to talk money for a minute. Kiwanis, Rotary, Key Club.
Write it down.
Please reach out to those at your school campus. It is money. It is scholarships. All right. And it's also service, beach cleanup. I mean, they have all kinds of activities. But I got to talk to a man when I was your age, been a long time ago, but I was a part of Seminar for Tomorrow's Leader through Rotary Club. I got to talk to the man who I met in Lakeland, and he is still doing it 40 years later, right? So scholarships, money, those are big ones on your campus I want you to look up and get involved in.
I think that one of the things that I can share with you, and that is that we lead by example. How many of the young people here in the audience have younger siblings, younger brothers, sisters? Okay. You can have an impact on your younger brother or your younger sister. My mom had 9 children. I was the first one to actually go off to college. But I made sure that I impacted all of my other brothers and sisters and encouraged them to go to college. I have a brother that's an architect today, but I saw his drawing and I saw his ability, and I said to him, I said, you know what? I believe that you'll be a great architect one day. He went to school and became an architect. You have a great responsibility if you're a big brother or big sister, that you mentor, because your brothers and sisters, they're watching you. And what you do is what they're going to pattern. So how can you be involved? Be involved in a positive way with your siblings that are younger than you. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we do have some athlete-focused questions that some of the panelists are former athletes. We'll share some information with you guys as well, because we know that's part of your goals and who you are training up to be. So if this question pertains to you, please feel free to jump in and share some information. Athletic ability is only one of the important components for achieving success as an athlete. What are some other important components?
Discipline, 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 discipline. I can tell you guys right now, I've sat on the other side of the table. I've been the one giving out scholarship dollars. I've been that guy. I've been that guy at NCAA Division I, Division II, NAIA, JUCO, #1 JUCO in the country. I'm telling y'all, nobody in this room is so good that if you don't have discipline, that coach is going to take you. Most of y'all don't understand, when I coached Dennis Smith Jr., Joey Baker just finished his 5th year at Michigan this year. Greg Gantz playing at NC State right now. All 3 of those guys had a 3.85 GPA or higher when I coached them. Dude in the NBA right now getting buckets had a 3.85, sitting at a table with Coach K, sitting at a table with Roy Williams, sitting at a table with Bill Self. They were willing to take a chance on Dennis over other cats that were every bit as good. Why? Because they knew Dennis had the discipline. They knew Joey Baker had the discipline. They knew Greg Gant had the discipline. When I was coaching, I only wanted guys that I knew had the discipline. I'll tell you one quick story and I'll pass it on. Had one guy, we worked it hard. We had him coming in for a visit. We knew we were about to sign this dude. It was a wrap. The night before, I get on Twitter. The dude's talking about smoking pot the night before, talking about having a great time with his woman, everything like that. Canceled the visit, didn't pull the scholarship right out from under him real quick. Took another dude that we knew wasn't going to give us the 20 points a game like this guy could, but we knew we were never going to have to worry about a thing. We knew he was going to be a model citizen for us. We knew that he may not average 18 and a half, but he's still going to give us 13 and a half. And he's going to go to class every day. He's never going to fail a drug test. He's going to represent us with the best of his ability. That is what they want. So some of y'all out here, y'all think, oh man, I'm the best thing out here right now. I'm telling you, you're not. Because unless you can guarantee that you're going to give me 65 a game, every single coach is going to look at you and he's going to compare you to somebody else. And if that kid, that young man, that young woman is more disciplined than you, that is where those scholarship dollars are going.
Thank you.
So a couple, and I had mentioned it earlier on a different topic, perseverance, discipline, as was just mentioned, attention to detail. Do the extra things. Everybody goes to practice that day on your team, but are they up in the morning training or running or shooting hoops or, you know, and then repetition, repetition, repetition. Do it the right way and do it thousands of times. Because when you get tired at any athletic event, doesn't matter what sport it is, you revert to your practice habits. So if you're sloppy in your practice habits and you've only done it 300 times instead of 2,000 or 3,000 times, trust me, when you get tired, you're going to fall back on your practice habits. And what's fascinating, and I went to medical school, I'm a physician, everything that I just mentioned also applies to school and academics, the same stuff. So that, you know, that's where I would focus. And I know a lot of you here play the games and do sports stuff. I think that is fantastic, but you got to follow those things I just mentioned to be really great.
Wow.
I think you, sorry,
Oh.
I think you got to remember that there's millions and millions of people that want to be athletes. So you got to be a standout, you know, because there could be someone just as good as you, but they have something else to offer because of their determination or what they're doing academically. So you got to stand out because you have other people that are going to be just as good as you. It can't just be your natural talent because you could, but it's that determination to be the best. But they're looking for a well-rounded athlete.
The same information that you have heard, I was previously, before being an elementary school principal now, I was a high school principal. And we had lots of incoming ninth graders that were amazing athletes, but they were not placing the same energy in academics. Remember, you're a student first and an athlete second. Without those grades, without your commitment to the books in the same manner that you're committing yourself to the field or the court, you will not be successful. Because when that GPA drops, you will no longer be able to play the game that you're so good at. And it is difficult to make that balancing act. It takes all of the qualities that have just been mentioned: perseverance, discipline, and everything else that you need to be. So remember, in middle school, you need to have the grades. In high school, you need to be a great student. And in college, you will need that as well. Even when your scholarship is given to you, I have seen many students coming back with their faces down because they lost the scholarship, because they did not have the commitment to be a student first. So keep that always in front of you, is my commitment to the books, the same way that you do it to everything else that you play and that you're great at.
And just to add to that, I tell my students pretty much every Monday, know your data. Know what you're going to be judged by. There are 4 components that people look in, and most of you are Manatee County, so focus to see who you are, and they judge you by that data. They look at your grades, they look at your behavior, they look at your attendance, and they look at your test scores. So you need to apply yourselves, make sure your data looks good at all costs, because that's how you're being judged. And even when you go to college, they pull your transcript. They want to see who you are by the data that you have in the system. So don't just go and do your best. Make sure you are tracking your progress. You're setting goals. You're obtaining those goals. And if you can't, get help. There are plenty of opportunities. Every school on this panel has after-school tutoring. Before school tutoring, teachers are giving up their lunches to help you. Get the help that you need so that your data always looks good.
Yeah.
Always. I won't say I wasn't an athlete, but I tried. From that standpoint, from a principal standpoint, a teacher standpoint, an educator standpoint, I want you to make sure you monitor your data. Always know what your data looks like. Yes, sir. Parents have access to Focus as well. And parents, yes, please, parents, review your child's data. Stay on top of Focus. Focus has everything that teachers puts notes in there. The assignments are there. Everything is there so that you can help your child and monitor their data and then help them set goals if they're not where they need to be to do even better. So yes, Focus is available to everyone. And if you don't know how to get in Focus, they have access. They can open it for you. They can open up Schoology for you and show you what the assignments are. There are many, many opportunities for monitoring and tracking data.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm just going to add to that. This could be your third time hearing about student athlete. Stay focused on that. Don't twist them up. Same way you put time into your craft, whatever sport you may be playing, same way you put it in academics. Academics, your education is your foundation. That is your foundation. If a hurricane hits a certain place, normally it takes out the walls, the roof, and everything. But when you go back and review what it didn't take out, it's the foundation. So have a strong foundation, along with the craft that you're aiming at. You know, you may be, one of the best ball players. Don't forget about your education. Stay on top of that.
I hate to speak again, but I've got a great story. And I may get a little emotional, but we had a wrestler on a wrestling team, Greg Wilcox. Wasn't the brightest guy, wasn't the most talented, and never finished higher than 5th in the state. Almost everybody on our team were state champions, almost without exception. Went to junior college for 2 years, redshirted a year, and then transferred into us at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Didn't place at the Nationals, wasn't an All-American as a junior. His senior year in the national semis, he beat a guy that beat him 15-1 a month earlier. And then he beat the guy in the finals who had beat him just 2 weeks earlier at the regionals, 12-3. Greg Wilcox had no fingers and no toes. National champion.
Thank you. Any last comments on that question? Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. At this time, I would like to reserve some time with the panel to get any audience questions that you guys may have. And there's a microphone in the back if you'd like to go to that microphone so we can hear you well. Thank you.
Check, check. Okay. Keenan Wooten here, community advocate, coach, everything above. Just one aspect of student athletes, and the panel can kind of speak to this as well, just for athletes, just knowing who you are, all right, and knowing the reality of being an athlete and knowing, okay, the chances of possibly getting a deep Division I scholarship, being realistic with yourself, okay? Uh, and this is a business, and understanding the business, and knowing yourself of life after athletics. Uh, I just kind of want you to speak to that because sometimes in our community, uh, athletics is great and it's a way to have discipline and be active, but there is life after running football and there is life after running basketball. So kind of speak towards that because sometimes we can get in this whole thing, okay, I'm playing basketball, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and you're really not thinking, okay, what if I don't get that Division I scholarship? What if no coaches come to see me? Am I tall enough? Am I fast enough? It's kind of speak towards that.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. There's a reality that we all have to look at. You all athletes, some of us were athletes once upon a time. One of the things I consider is we only have 420 players in the NBA. Probably close to a third of those come from outside of the country. There are only about 1,600 players, less than 1,600 players in the NFL. If you consider the players that stay long past their 4 years, the number of those that's going to leave from college and go to that level is very low. The percentage is probably less than 1%, which means there are a lot of great players who never make it to that level. Knowing who you are, your foundation, knowing the business helps you to get taken a little bit more seriously. When you understand nobody's making you a millionaire without you also being a business person. Being a business person, one thing you got to know is as an athlete, one, you are an ambassador of the school, whether you like it or not. That's the role that you're in. People are watching you closer than they're watching other people. It may not be fair, but it is what it is. So how you carry yourself makes a difference. How you look, how you dress, people are watching you. They are determining, do they want you to be the face of their program? But also consider that what the lessons you're learning as an athlete are some great lessons. We're learning how to work as a team. We're learning how to set goals, have vision, and things of that sort. Those skills are transferable to other areas in life. Because those are transferable, you also need to make sure you have your plan B, your plan C, plan D. Because going back to that definition of success, just because you may or may not make it as an athlete does not mean you're not successful in life. Now, sports has, afforded some great opportunities. But remember, what's going to set you apart? What's going to separate you from that next person? It goes beyond what you can do on the field or on the court. It goes beyond what you can do even in the classroom. You got to think about the principles that you have, the principles, the value system that you have, the expectations that you set for yourself. There's extrinsic motivation, and that's what you get from your coaches. But what's going on intrinsically? Your thought process. You can't just roll out of the bed at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, go to class with your pants down below your behind, wearing, whatever. Set yourself apart.
No, I don't need him to preach.
Let people start looking at you asking, who is that guy? All the others look the same, but this one is something different about this guy. If you blend in with everybody else, people think they already have you figured out. there's no curiosity to draw them in. But when you set yourself apart, now they want to know what foundation do you have, what value system do you have, and what else did you bring to the table, because they know it's got to be more there than somebody who can run fast and catch.
Thank you. Any other members of the audience have any questions for the panel? Yes, ma'am. So what type of support system is in place for students who have that athletic ability but may need some academic support or even social behavior support? If someone will respond to that.
I will, since I'm high school principal. So I work, yes, absolutely. So to make sure that we get to the parent and the family involved with that student athlete and the coach and the counselors and the graduation enhancement tech, there are so many layers to offer support. But if that child can get one advocate on campus, whether it is the coach, it doesn't matter the title. You got to find that person that's going to advocate for you to make sure that they help you get access to what you need. Athlete, academic scholar, student. We have to make sure that we provide resources for you. What programs are after school to make sure that you have that support? What are you taking during the school day to make sure that you're in the right courses if you do get that D1 offer? Making sure that we keep track of and working with parents asking questions, keeping us on our toes. Miss Betty Rhodes, you do that, so that's a good part. We got to stay on our toes and make sure that we work with our students and have at least one person that advocates for you, so that we can make sure we get you those resources, because that is our job. We want to make sure we do that for student athletes.
And I can also tag in on that, coming from high school, that we try to be proactive in that measure. The goal is for the student not to get to a place where they're in danger, but we have a lot of resources up front that we're monitoring that data. We're monitoring what you need before you get in that hole. We don't want you to get in the hole. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. We'll go ahead. Okay, anyone want to speak to, really, I just hear overall motivation and pushing our students to that high expectation that we talked about earlier, including the student athletes, because we really do that for all the students. Anyone want to speak to that?
I just want to add programs that you can be involved in. Avid has an academic elective, exactly what she's speaking to. You may not push yourself to be in an AP course or a college credit course, but if you take an academic elective in one program, please write this down, because if you go to your campus and you find out that information, it's going to help you. There is an Avid program, all right? Then at other high schools, I don't want to speak for all high schools in Manatee County, but every high school has a program with a coordinator so that you can get those advanced classes, because we know in an advanced class, an A is worth 5 points rather than 4. And you need to know that. Parents need to know that. So those 5-point courses you want to look for. And they're also in engineering. You know, at Southeast, we have engineering program. In my 4-year engineering program, I make sure that those courses are 5 points, so it boosts your GPA. Ask those questions, okay? Avid, ACE is at Palmetto, IB is at Southeast. I could go on and on, all right? There's a program at every school, every high school in Manatee County. Please ask the questions.
And I just would like to add, so coming from a middle school perspective, it starts before you get to high
right.
school. So you need to apply yourself in middle school, because there are certain criteria that you have to get into these classes. So having the GPA, having again, going back to your data, making sure your data looks good so that you are accepted into these classes. I think everybody on this panel, we believe in acceleration, but there are certain criteria that we have to utilize in order to place students. So make sure that you are starting early. Elementary students back there, same for you. Start early, making sure your grades are good. So when you get to middle school, you can get into those advanced classes. Then when you get to high school, you can get into the AP classes and so forth and so on. So it really starts early. We need to start monitoring grades and making sure that everyone is reaching their fullest potential so that we can have those opportunities for all students.
I think it goes back to what Ms. Zenon Richardson was saying, knowing your data and parents being involved, getting in focus, checking your students or your son and daughter's data daily, not waiting till progress report, waiting until the quarter. The other thing I've heard the panel say, doing the extra, it's all about the extra, right? We all know if you want to score more points in a game or you want to rush for more yards, you know what to do. You got to go out and put extra time in. I heard someone say practices from 3 to 5. Those kids that are doing those great things, they're putting in more time. They're coming in on the weekends. Same thing with education.
That's right.
Right? So, you know, this summer, how many of you plan on doing some academic work over the summer? Right? If you want to take advanced courses, you want to do what Ms. Rhodes said in the back, be in the advanced courses and things, probably should be doing something academically during the summer as well. You know, get up in the morning, you do your push-ups. I go to the high school campuses, I see thousands of kids on campuses during the summer for athletics. We want to see it for academics as well. Put a little extra time into the academic bucket and you'll go far. So that's the key. It's just that little extra.
That's right. Thank you.
Well, I was just going to say that we're starting acceleration even in elementary school to prepare yourself to get yourself into those honor courses in middle school that will then lead you to be able to get those classes. You know, you're setting yourself up when you get to high school. So you'll have those advanced classes and you'll be able to get college credits or, you know, AP courses, whatever that may be.
And also, the way to get into those advanced courses is through your test scores. The test scores is what get you into the advanced courses. Students start taking the test, now it's the FAST test, in the 3rd grade. When they start in the 3rd grade, you need to make sure you add at least a level 3, nothing less. That level 3 gets you into that's enough when you get to middle school to get you into advanced courses. We have students that are taking high school courses as early as the 7th grade. And also, a big thing, I'm a big proponent of what are you doing during the off season.
Right.
Now that off season, that includes not only the athletic season, but the off season for academics as well. I learned years ago that it's what you do during the off season that determines champions. That's champions in the classroom, champions on the field, and champions on the court. You can't wait until the season and say, now I'm going to play football. No, you got to get in the weight room. Get out on and do some running. Go and do your push-ups, do your sit-ups, do your conditioning. Also, you can do some off-season academic work. The reading test. Matter of fact, at Lincoln, we have a summer camp during the month of June. Our goal is to connect every student to the school, at least for 2 weeks, if nothing else, so we can get them in there, focusing on some math, focus on some reading, science, civics. If we can get them connected during the off season, they're going to have a stronger performance once the season starts. That's universal.
Any last questions?
I got something I want to add because I don't think the question's going to get asked. So it makes my skin crawl because all I've heard is D1. I'm telling y'all right now, I told you I've sat in that D2 office, I've sat in that JUCO office, I've sat in that NAI office. I've seen kids every year go through 4 or 5 years of their college degree and they walk away with 0 money. All right? Y'all do not have to live on that D1 or nothing dream. So everything else we said, it is what it is. But if you don't get that call from that D1 and you're arrogant enough to not pick up the phone when that D2 coach keeps calling you and you keep saying, nah, I'm going to wait on Florida State to call me. And you know you're not going to Florida State. But you think, I'm going to wait on FSU. I'm going to wait on UF. I'm telling y'all, at the end of the day, when you're 30, 40, 50 years old and you don't have any school debt or your debt is very minimal, hearing D1 come out of this place tonight, I told myself I was going to wait till the last 5 minutes before I said anything.
It's the last 5 minutes.
But there is college athletics beyond D1 that pays for your school. And whether it's a little bit or whether it's a lot, I'm just letting y'all know There are opportunities out there. There is the NAIA clearinghouse. There's over 300 NAIA schools that give money. There are over 300, 400 Division II schools that are giving you money. There are over 800 JUCOs, which is junior colleges across the country, giving you money. I'm telling y'all, you cannot be arrogant enough, and that goes for parents as well, thinking my kid's a D1 player, to not let your son or daughter pick up the phone from the D2, from the NAIA, from the JUCO. You don't shut the door until your name goes on the dotted line for scholarship papers. So always keep your options open. Free education is free education.
Yeah. On that note, let's keep that hand clap going for our panelists. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, panelists, and sharing all of this expert information with our students. I saw students actively engaged and taking lots of notes, so we are expecting some big things from you guys. I'm going to turn it back over at this time to Mr. Edwards. Good job, Doc. Good job.
Wasn't our moderator awesome? Let's give her a special round of applause. I can't thank you enough. I mean, you were here engaged, and this is what we want to do. We want to provide information, and we'll come to you to provide that. You did an excellent job this evening, and you are to be commended. Give yourselves a round of applause. At this time, we're going to ask the NAACP to come forward, and they're going to tell you a little bit about this, more of the parent survey. They're going to discuss the parent survey with you. If you can just hang tight, we'll get you out on time. We got about 5 minutes, 4 minutes to spare. NAACP at this time. Give them a round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. The Manatee branch of the NAACP has been working with Pathways Fellowship, Ms. Sandra Holly, to design a survey for parents and caregivers to gather their opinions about the education of their children in Manatee County schools. We will use this information to design follow-up materials, maybe other evenings like tonight or other opportunities that will help parents engage successfully in their children's education. We want you to tell us how you feel. The survey is being distributed as I'm speaking. It is anonymous. Please do not put your name on it. That is not important to us. What's important is that you check your response to the questions that are on the survey, and eventually the survey will be tabulated. We have about 4 more places that we're going to be doing this survey, and then everything will get tabulated and that information will be available. It is two-sided, but it's very quick. We want to collect them tonight because as we go to the different places, we try to have the survey done there, and then we pick those up and we'll put everything together. So those parents that have received the survey, if you have a kid in Manatee County School and you're here, we'd like you to complete one of the surveys. We want you to put a check mark in the box that states your opinion about the question that's being asked. Check the first box if you strongly agree with the statement. Check the second box, so forth and so on. If you don't have an opinion, one way or the other, check the neutral box. These are questions that we have, as I said, that we have developed with input from others in the community. So we want to thank you for your time, and I'd just like to say thank you to this wonderful panel. Let's give them another round of applause.
Before I bring up Bishop Dexter McDonald to do the closing, again, I would just like to say thank you, thank you, thank you for your hard work and your dedication in receiving the information that we have available. Only other thing I would like to add is please utilize our website, manateeschools.net. It has a wealth of information. A lot of times the questions that anyone may have, you can find it on our website. We just had a special new design to our website. We wanted to make it more convenient for you to locate all the resources and all the information that you need. So again, you are to be commended for this evening. I truly thank you for your hard work and dedication. And at this time, we're going to close it out with Bishop Dexter McDonald to do the closing. Thank you.
Let us give Mr. Omar Edwards a big round of applause. Let us give Mr. Randall a big round of applause. Let us give Mr. Mays a big round of applause. And again, we thank our panel for serving tonight, but most of all, we thank you for coming. Let's give our youth and parents a big round of applause. And thank you for your patience tonight. As we close, we pray that you will take some of these nuggets and apply it to your life. And remember this, your attitude determines your altitude, how far you go in life. Let us bow our heads as we close. Eternal, gracious, and loving God, our Father, as we enter into your presence once again. Father, we thank you for this time of sharing at this parent university. We thank you for Mr. Edwards and all of those that help him in preparing this program for tonight. We thank you for the panel. We thank you for all of the young people that are present here tonight. We thank you for their parent tonight. We pray that this is only the beginning of something even greater. We pray that as these young people have heard tonight, that they will be inspired to be all that they can be. And Father, as we leave this place tonight, but never your presence, we ask that you go with us. For it is in Christ's name we pray. Amen and amen.